He vanished, but his phone kept moving. My name is Kevin Moore. I'm 28 years old, and up until last October, I lived a completely normal life in Columbus, Ohio. I worked as a warehouse supervisor, lived alone, and spent most weekends hanging out with my younger brother, Tyler. He was 25, full of energy, always posting dumb memes and always sharing his life on social media. We weren't just brothers, we were best friends. But on October 9th, everything changed. Tyler didn't show up for our usual Friday night beer and Xbox marathon. I figured he got distracted or found a girl to hang with, but he wasn't answering texts. Saturday, still nothing. By Sunday, I went to his apartment. It was locked. Lights off. His car was gone, but the mail was piling up at his door. That's when I called the cops. They treated it like he just went on a trip. Said adults are allowed to disappear if they want. But I knew my brother. He wouldn't ghost me like that. I hacked into his iCloud account. Not proud of it, but I needed answers. That's when I saw it, find my iPhone was still active. And his phone was moving. First ping was from a truck stopped 50 miles north. Then the signal paused in a small town called Lakeside for 6 hours. Then, just before midnight, it moved again and settled in a rural area outside the town and then stopped completely. That phone hasn't moved since. I drove there the next morning. GPS took me to a dirt road that turned into a narrow gravel trail surrounded by trees. I was half convinced it was a glitch, but then I saw it, an abandoned-looking farmhouse, boarded up windows, but a mailbox that looked brand new. Tyler's phone was in there. My heart was pounding. I walked around the property. No signs of life. Then I noticed the faint sound of humming. Electrical humming. Like a generator underground. And that's when I found the metal door flush with the ground behind the shed. It had no handle. Just a small keypad. Something inside me said, "This is where he is." I took photos. I sent them to the police. They didn't care. Said I had no proof of a crime. I wanted to scream. My brother could be right there, and nobody would help me. So I made a choice. I went home. I packed food, water, gloves, and a crowbar. I wasn't leaving that place until I knew the truth. The next night, I came back. And I broke in. The metal door was heavier than I expected. Once I wedged the crowbar into the side and applied pressure, it groaned like something that hadn't been opened in years. The smell that hit me when it cracked open was indescribable. Mold, sweat, and something else, something sour and metallic. Inside was a concrete staircase leading down. The walls were wet to the touch. The air felt wrong, too thick, too quiet. My flashlight flickered, but I kept going. About 10 steps in, I saw something that made me freeze. There was a single shoe. Tyler's Nike. The one with the scuffed toe he always wore. It was just lying there on the step, like he'd taken it off mid-step and never came back for it. I whispered his name, even though I knew it was stupid. The echo that came back wasn't my own voice. It was someone else's. A whisper far below, mimicking me. Terrain. I nearly dropped the flashlight. I kept going. At the bottom of the stairs, the concrete opened into a narrow hallway lit dimly by a row of red emergency lights along the floor. I could hear faint buzzing, and not from lights or machines, but phones. Dozens of phones. Notifications, low battery beeps, vibrations. I turned the corner and walked into a room filled with cell phones. Old ones, new ones, cracked screens, all stacked on metal shelves. Some were still on. Some were showing photos. One phone had a wallpaper of a little girl with braces. Another had a text thread open. "Please let me go. I won't tell anyone." I recognized Tyler's for an immediately blue case with a sticker that said "Send memes." It was on the top shelf, buzzing every few seconds with missed calls and texts from me. I picked it up. The battery was at 2%. I opened his messages. The last sent message was a photo of the metal door, followed by one more. He knows. Before I could process what that meant, I heard footsteps upstairs. Heavy. Slow. Deliberate. I turned off my flashlight and pressed myself against the wall. My heart was trying to beat its way out of my chest. The footsteps came down the stairs. I heard breathing. Deep rattling and human. Then something dragged a chain of metal pipe scraping the steps. I barely dared to breathe. Whatever was coming down didn't use a flashlight. It didn't need one. I saw the shadow long before I saw the figure. It was tall. Wrong proportions. Its arms were too long. Its head cocked unnaturally to one side. I backed up into the shelves. A phone fell. Flattered loudly. The thing stopped. And then it turned its head sharply toward me. I ran. I didn't care if it saw me, I just ran. As I sprinted back up the stairs, I heard it move fast. Faster than anything that Sai should. It didn't shout. Didn't roar. It just breathed louder. I burst out into the night, slammed the metal door shut, and rolled a heavy log over. I didn't sleep that night. But I knew one thing for sure. That thing wasn't human. And my brother had found it first. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't even think straight. I locked every door and window in my apartment, turned off all the lights, and just sat there staring at Tyler's phone. It was dead now, but I couldn't bring myself to charge it. I was afraid of what else I might find. Around noon, I forced myself to look through the photo gallery. Most were normal memes, screenshots, selfies. Then I found a folder called Do Not Open. It was hidden in a subfolder under receipts. Classic Tyler move. There were 5 videos. The first one was just him filming the farmhouse from a distance, zooming in on the mailbox and the boarded windows. He whispered something like, "This place gives me the creeps," and then cut the video. The second video was inside. It was filmed through a crack in one of the walls, like he'd found a hidden peephole. There was a man sitting in a chair, or at least something shaped like a man. Completely still. Masked face. Pale hands. And behind him, a wall covered in missing persons flyers. I recognized some of the names. Locals who disappeared over the past year. One of them was a woman I remembered from my news story, Jessica T., age 34, vanished while jogging. The third video was shaky. Tyler was whispering, "I think it saw me," over and over again. At one point, the camera flipped to show his face soaked in sweat, terrified. The fourth. I couldn't finish the fourth. It was night vision. He was hiding behind a shelf, and he was filming something dragging a body across the floor. Bare legs, scraped feet, and a zip-tied wrist with a medical bracelet. The thing doing the dragging wasn't the same figure I saw. This one was smaller, child-sized it, but it moved like a spider. Fast and crooked. Then came the fifth video. No visuals. Just black screen and audio. Tyler's voice. Breathy. Panicked. "If anyone finds this, don't try to help me, don't come here, don't open the door. It's not just one thing, it's them. They take your face, they wear it like a mask, and they're not alone anymore." Then, whispers. Several. All relaying each other. One of them sounded like me. I dropped the phone. I wanted to throw it out the window, but I couldn't. It was all I had left of him. I called the police again. Told them everything. Showed them the videos. They confiscated the phone. I thought they'd finally believe me. That night, 2 officers came to my apartment. But something felt off. They didn't show badges. They didn't make small talk. One stood by the door. The other just stared at me, head tilted too far, like his neck had no bones. He said, "We'll take it from here, Kevin." But he said it in Tyler's voice. I slammed the door and locked it. They didn't knock again. They just waited. For 3 straight hours. Standing outside my apartment door. Silent. Then they left. The next morning, I called the police department. They said they never sent anyone. I barely slept that night. Every creak in the apartment felt like footsteps. Every shadow seemed to shift when I looked away. I had Tyler's backup phone and an old cracked Samsung he used as a music player, so I started recording everything, just in case I disappeared too. The next few days were hell. I couldn't leave my apartment without feeling like I was being followed. At one point, I noticed the same car parked across the street 3 days in a row. A black sedan was no place. The windows were tinted so dark I couldn't even tell if someone was inside. Then my neighbour's dog started barking at my front door. Every night. At 3:12 a.m. On the dot. Growling, whining, then backing away slowly, tail between its legs like it had seen something it wasn't supposed to. That was when I decided to go back. Not because I was brave. Because I couldn't live not knowing what happened to my brother. But this time I wasn't going in alone. I posted anonymously on a deep web forum for urban explorers. I made up a story, said there was an abandoned cult house with weird tech inside. Promised proof. One guy responded. Name was Ellis. Former military, now a conspiracy nut. He believed in skinwalkers, shadow people, and government meat suits. I didn't care what he believed in, he had night vision gear, a GoPro, and a gun. Good enough. We drove out at midnight. I showed him the door. I expected him to laugh or leave. Instead, he said, "Smells like a trap." Then he grinned. "Let's go." We pried the door open again and went in fast. No lights. Just infrared. I kept whispering, "Don't talk, don't talk, don't talk," like saying it would keep them from hearing us. The hallway was the same. Phones buzzing. Wet concrete. That humming, always in the background. But something had changed. There were voices. Not shouting. Not crying. Laughing. High pitch, stuttering laughter that echoed from different directions, but never got closer. Alice whispered, "I don't like this," but kept moving. He was filming everything. We made it to the main room. The shelves of phones were gone. Just gone. In their place were rows of mannequins. Dozens of them. But they weren't plastic. They were real people. Frozen. Standing upright. Eyes wide open. Skin pale and stretched thin like wax. Some had mouths sewn shut. Others were smiling false, grotesque grins. All of them had their phones duct taped to their chests, screens flashing endlessly. Tyler wasn't among them, but one of the mannequins had a shirt I recognized as the same one from our last barbecue. My best friend James. He'd gone missing 2 months ago. I whispered, "No, no, no, no," and reached toward him. That's when one of them blinked. Not James, one of the others. Then its head snapped in my direction, and every single figure turned to look at us at once. Alice screamed, "Run!" As we turned, the lights got out completely, and something began crawling across the ceiling fast. The sound it made wasn't footsteps, it was clicks. Like bone against bone. Each movement came with a wet pop, like its limbs were bending the wrong way. Ellis raised his gun and fired blindly into the dark, muzzle flashes lighting up glimpses of a thing on the ceiling. It had too many limbs. Its face looked like a mosaic of others, stitched and fused, a patchwork of mouths, noses, eyes. We ran. Back through the hallway, up the stairs. The red lights flickered as the whole basement seemed to shift, the walls warped, the ceiling lowered, like the building itself didn't want us to leave. As we reached the top, the metal door slammed shut in our faces. I threw my shoulder into it, screamed, panicked, while Ellis kept firing at the thing behind us. It was coming fast. Faster than I could even comprehend. Ellis turned to me and shouted, "Go, I'll hold them," and shoved me aside. Then he did something insane. He dropped a grenade. I didn't even know he had one. He kicked it down the hallway and slammed into the door with me. The explosion shook the ground and the walls cracked. Something shrieked loud and high-pitched like a dying murder. The door flew open. We spilled out into the night air, coughing, shaking, covered in dust. We didn't stop. We ran to the car and didn't look back. For the next 20 miles, we didn't say a word. When we finally stopped at a gas station, Ellis turned to me and said, "That wasn't a cull house, that was a nest, you understand." I nodded. I didn't want to, but I did. They weren't just creatures. They weren't just killers. They were collectors. They wore faces. Stored memories. Took people, copied them, and left shells behind. Like mannequins. Ellis handed me a USB drive. "The footage is all here," he said. "But don't upload it, don't share it, don't even watch it." I asked why. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't blinked in hours. "They see through recordings," he said. "They're not stuck down there, they're spreading. Every time someone watches, it's like an invitation." Then he drove off. I watched his taillights vanish down the road, and that's when I noticed something horrifying. In the rear seat of his truck, there was another Ellis. Just sitting there smiling at me. I don't know where Tyler is, but I think he might still be alive. Because sometimes, when the house is quiet, and my phone is off, I hear him. Calling my name. Not in a dream. Not in my head. In the walls. I tried to tell myself I imagined it the second Ellis in the truck. Maybe it was the shadows. Maybe I was losing it. But deep down, I knew what I saw. The one who gave me the USB, he wasn't the original. I didn't go home. I couldn't. Instead, I booked a motel 2 towns over. Cash only. No ID. I locked the door, pulled the curtains tight, turned off every light, and sat on the edge of the bed staring at the USB in my hand. My fingers trembled as I slid it into my laptop. Against Alice's warning, I opened the footage. At first, it was just what I remembered, the grainy shots of the cellar, the mannequins, the ceiling crawler. But then the footage began to distort. Frames skipped. Audio twisted. Voices overlapped. 1 second I was watching the hallway, the next I saw my apartment. My bedroom. My desk. Nay. Sitting there, watching the video. But it wasn't the present. It was tomorrow. Suddenly, my own voice came through the speakers, breathless, whispering. "It's already in." The screen went black. Then flickered back on. A new video appeared, a timestamp 1 hour in the future. It showed me asleep on the motel bed. Something standing at the foot of it. Tall. Still. Watching. This out of focus. Like it was shifting. Glitching. My face. Tyler's. Ellis's. Over and over. I slammed the laptop shut. I was shaking so badly I couldn't breathe. I grabbed my keys, my wallet, and bolted out the door. But the whole room wasn't empty. There was a man standing there. Same height as me. Same clothes. His face was turned away. "Tyler?" I whispered. He turned. It was me. But wrong. His eyes were too wide. Too wet. His smile cut through his cheeks. And when he spoke, it wasn't one voice, it was many. "You brought us back." I ran. I didn't care where. Just ran into the street barefoot, heart exploding in my chest. And now I'm hiding. No phone. No computer. Just this notepad. Just ink. Because they travel through screens. Through voices. Through copies of us. Tyler knew. That's why he said not to come. But I did. And now I know the truth. They don't just take you. They replace you. If you're watching this video, if you've heard my voice, they know you know. And they're cunning. Just like they came for Tyler. Just like they came for me. And if I disappear, don't try to find me. Because the next time you see my face, it won't be mine.